There's a particular debate in public discourse these days that revolves around the men being providers. The question is, how much of a provider should a man really be? I believe there's a misconception about what a provider should do or who a provider should be. The Bible itself in First or Second Timothy says that if a man isn't providing for his household, then he's a waste man. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it basically says, which means that men really should provide. And within yourself as a man, you know that you feel the innate desire to provide, and you do not feel as useful if you're not the one doing the provision in any setting that you're in. Not maximum provision, that is ego, but just at least contributing something of value. Now, when you have the tendency to want to give, and you feel more useful when you are able to give, if you're not giving the instructions clearly of how to direct that kindness or how to direct your giving, you might be giving to the wrong places. And that is the problem that manhood has today. The men still feel the need to provide, but a lot of times they provide in the wrong situations to the wrong people in the wrong context. And when it is not met with appreciation, then they see it that it was never a worthwhile endeavor to begin with. And that is not the case. Man should provide, but then man should also provide to certain people. But we are not taught that part of the thing. It wasn't really passed down to us the way other traditions and cultures may pass down certain traits and certain ideals. The formula for provision for men isn't really passed down. And so young boys grow up feeling and knowing that they should be provided, but not knowing the instructions for the provisions. And in a world like this, where everybody, it is a dog eat dog world, if you feel like your default feeling is to feel like you need to provide for the ones who are relatively weaker than you, which is women and children as a man, and then you might feel that sense of duty to all women and all children. And if that's the case, and you do not have the instruction or the guide as to where to direct that provision to get the maximum appreciation out of it, then you begin to feel like it's not a worthwhile endeavor. And women know this and they take advantage of it. Not because they are bad people, but because if you leave your shop open and you leave a bunch of gold bars in it and people can just come in and take from it without any consequence, then nobody's going to walk, see people picking gold bars from a shop and nobody saying anything and think, you know what, I didn't keep that there. Let me not. Soon enough, they will clean that place out. And that is how it is with your provision and your need to provide. I'm saying this because I've been there before. In all my previous relationships, I felt the need to pay for the girl's life. You know what I mean? All her problems were mine. I felt that need, even in times when I wasn't in a position financially to solve all her problems. I mean, which woman can you solve her financial needs at once? But everyone that came to my table, I felt the need to solve. I felt like it was my responsibility. And that chokes you. Your money is your power. Man, your money is your power. It's your security. It is your own. If you ignore all the noise on social media and all the different people, celebrities and content creators and thought leaders who are telling you their own opinions on what they think about provision and the rest, there are some really thoughtful opinions. Like, for example, if we go on a date, who should pay? The common sense answer is whoever idea it was to go out on the date is the one who should hold the responsibility of paying. Then, on top of that, you can now start stacking other things like, but if this other person feels the need or wants to be generous, then they can now step in and pay. Or if they have a discussion about the topic, then they can arrive at a separate conclusion. But by default, if it's your idea, it should be costing you. But that's not what we're doing today. Today, we're not saying in each scenario, in each context. We are bringing it down to the minute, to the atom of the issue. What is the mindset you should have around spending your money? It is to prioritize these three things in this order: provide for self, provide for duty, provide for community, especially when it comes to your resources. Your resources, in this case, is your money, your power, your influence. You should use it to benefit yourself first. Yourself in whatever context you're in, single, married, dating, whatever. You should pay your rent first, fuel your car first, buy your essentials first, feed yourself first. And then the next things that follow are your commitments. You have your rent is probably a commitment. You have a contribution. You have a levy to pay, and this, that, and the other. Your commitment, your word, places you've promised, things like that. Those are the next things. And then your community is the next thing around you. So your vicinity, your neighbor, your friends, you know, people around you, your colleagues. That's now the third thing outside of yourself and your duties that you should spend money on. This, your community now, that is where maybe your girlfriend may fall into. Your friends, like I said, that is where to fall into. But prioritize doing the best for yourself with your money. And this, it is in this order because, for example, you cannot solve everything within the time period given. If this month you didn't make enough money to do all the things you want to do for yourself and solve all your commitments and give community, it means that community is the one you eliminate first. If I cannot buy my essentials, my roll-on, my spray, my perfume, and I cannot buy prepaid unit, then that's two. And I cannot fuel my car or pay my rent, I have no business contributing to community. I have no business sending money to family. I have no business sending buying wig for my babe. And if I promised you money, sorry, I will not be able to do it at this point because there are things within the self that you have to prioritize. Let me tell you why this is the best way to go. You can get maximum appreciation at all times. Every amount of money you spend on yourself will be appreciated automatically because it is you that spent it on yourself. You are the one that is benefiting from it. You cannot be ungrateful. When I spray the perfume I bought and I get compliments for it, I am thankful to myself. Within myself, I'm thankful to myself that I spend the money on this stuff. So the appreciation is pretty much guaranteed at that basic level. And then the level after that is an extension of yourself. Your commitment and your word is an extension of yourself. So places where you said, this is what we are, contributing for, and you promise money here, or when you feel those things, you add something in terms of value to yourself and respect that you even get from people, and respect for yourself because you're the kind of person who does what he says. Now, not just in action, but with finances. And that is another tier of appreciation that is almost guaranteed to come. And then the third tier is community. And it is community that can now, that is where it begins to get shaky, where you might not get appreciated. In fact, most of the time, you don't get appreciated for the work that you put into the community or the kindness that you show and the resources you spend. But at least you don't care at that point because the first two tiers have given you all the appreciation you need, which is enough motivation for you to continue to provide for community where you can afford to. And so the appreciation doesn't really have to change your character or how you behave, except you make a decision based on the level of ingratitude. Talking about ingratitude, another thing you can do to avoid it is to understand the framework of how to provide for women. This one too, I suffered with it, right? You need to understand that giving should be a reward for good behavior. Everybody shows up in the world with the innate responsibility to cater for themselves. And sometimes you feel the drive to go and get yours. There are people who, if they get into a relationship with you, they feel the need to get it from you, which is to them still satisfying the urge to get theirs, but they're getting it through another human being. And if that's you, then you'd be unfortunate if you do not have the framework intact. Spending your resources on a love or a romantic partner, especially a woman in this context for men who are listening, is to use it as a reward for good behavior. And then after that, it can be a consistent thing once you have determined or certified the character of this person to be one that would always appreciate these gifts. And then it can just be as you like. But to begin with, you don't meet a woman and then start gifting and being all spend my money, chop my money. That's all you're going to ever be. And that is one way you can actually block the appreciation because now provider mindset would have put you in trouble. And you will never really get the full appreciation that you deserve because it never came as they never felt like they needed to work for it. They would begin to feel entitled to it. It is inevitable. These are things of human nature. It is not something that makes somebody a bad person. But if you give something to somebody and they do not work for it in any way, shape, or form, it will begin to look like their birthright. So that is what we need to break out of. That's it for this episode. Please remember to subscribe, listen, follow us on all social media. It's the Good Living Podcast everywhere. Say what you think in the comments, and I'll hit you back in the next episode. Have a good one.